Kisooka kinkubye enkyukwe nti abasajja bano tebajooga wabula balumya bulumya. Nali sisuubira bakadda be NRM bonna betumanyi nga n'eggwanga libamanyi nti be bagenda okuleeta mu kadde kano ng'ate tusaba electoral reforms. Kati bwe twasaba constitutional reforms, electoral reforms zaalina okubeeramu weewaawo ne Minisita Mao yatugamba tewaliiwo ssente. Tubadde tusuubira nti okukyusa mu constitutional reforms kye kirina okusooka okulondebwa kw'abano, kubanga teri muntu ali seni oba omuntu ategeera asobola okukkiriza bakadda be NRM betumanyi n'ennamba zaabwe nga gye ziri bajje bakondakitinga okulonda kw'eggwanga. Era ffe abamu bwe twalaba babalonze twali tusuubira nti babalonze genda kukola ku kitebe ky'e NRM. Naye olw'okuba nti n'abantu bulijjo batera okutugamba mukozeewo ki, ffe tukyakkiriza nti teri asobola kkiriza kadda we NRM kujja kukulira akakiiko ka ggwanga ka byakulonda. Era omuntu wano kubaka bwa palamenti tusobola okuwatanyawatanyaako n'oyita, naye omuntu yenna agenda okwesimbawo ku kifo ky'obwa pulezidenti nakkiriza bakadda be NRM. Nze kambabulyeko bamubadde temubamanyi, Oweekitiibwa Honorable Kasule oyo ayambala n'ekisaati ky'e NRM misana mulaba, oyo abadde former MP ng'ate ali ku kaadi y'e NRM. Oweekitiibwa Okero oyo abadde MP ku tiketi y'e NRM. Oweekitiibwa Honorable Tasobya naye abadde MP ku tiketi y'e NRM. Waliwo n'oli omusajja gwe mpulira bayita Simba, oyo mbadde mulaba nga yasomesa emisomo gy'e NRM ekyankwanzi, oyo gwe bajje Makerere. Noono omukyalo omulala gwe baataddewo naye kaada we NRM. So kati sisuubira nti kaada be NRM bwe bagenda okutegeka okulonda naddala ku presidential level, omuntu yenna agenda okwesimbawo ku bwa pulezidenti nga akkiriza bakadda be NRM bamutegekera okulonda ajja kuba the celebrated fool of the 21st century. Ekyo tetukirumamu. Omuntu yenna agenda okwesimbawo ku kifo ky'obwa pulezidenti nakkiriza kadda be NRM bamutegekera okulonda nga tubadde tusaba reforms wano ne batugamba nti tewaliiwo ssente. Obutabeerawo ssente kitegeeza nti tetusobola kukyusa akakiiko, kubanga twasaba akakiiko k'ebyokulonda kabeere independent practically, si kuteekawo buteesi kigambo nti kali independent. Era nabadde sisuubira nti leader of opposition atuula ku kakiiko ka appointments committee n'ababaka b'opposition. Sisuubirayo mubaka w'opposition agenze kuvetinga be NRM. Sisuubirayo, kino nkyogera ng'omubaka wa parliament, sisuubirayo mubaka w'opposition kabe leader of opposition agenze kuvetinga be NRM bajje bakulira akakiiko k'ebyokulonda. Bwe baba bagenze, then abantu ba bulijjo bajja kubanga batukuba amayinja bajja kuba batuufu. Naye era nkisuubira nti newakubadde nti bazze wano si enkomeredde, tukyalinda amaloboozi agava mu bantu. Are we fools enough to accept NRM cadres to be in charge of national elections? Will those elections be free and fair? We've known sides of these former members of parliament, including the other cadre who's teaching in Makerere University. So if we accept them to be in charge of national elections, we shouldn't blame the public. They will come and castigate, especially we members of parliament. I don't expect any member of opposition to go and vet these NRM cadres to be in charge of electoral commission, because you would have had different voices. If they are from different different organs of life, we wouldn't care. But we know most of these people have been here in parliament singing NRM songs. Even some of them were part when we are changing the constitution, when we are removing age limit. They are party. So if we accept them, then we will be the celebrated fools of the 21st century. And we shouldn't blame any person who will come and blame we the opposition that we are just here for positions, but we don't want change. Because I don't expect these people even to have stepped here in parliament. When we heard that their names being read, we thought that they are going to be in charge of NRM elections. But they cannot be allowed, despite the fact that we have some of our colleagues who are not seeing what is happening. a few of us will not allow it. We have so many avenues we shall use to ensure that these people will not sit in those offices. Previously, we saw what Justice Byamukama did. And we have gone through, we lost so many people because of him. Because you remember there are so many of our colleagues who went outside there demonstrating against the results which Electoral Commission read, especially presidential. And we lost so many of them, and you can't tell us that at the same time it's the same person who has been brought back on board. We don't have many Ugandans who are educated to the levels of Justice Byamukama to the extent that we can only stick on one person who claims to be from the justice corners, yet is just the opposite of what he claims to be. So that's my take. I'm a member of parliament. A member of parliament can, can circumvent in all means. But the presidential level is what matters most. In Uganda, we say, yes, these are minor positions. Parliament is a minor position compared to the presidential. So for us, we can find ways how we can manipulate the situation despite the challenges that might be there. But what matters most among all those positions is the presidential one. So for us, we can participate, maybe, I'm not very sure, and we may not. But what matters most among all those positions we contest in politics is the position of president. Because the president determines everything, including lives of Ugandans, including peace. So if for you, I know you are just looking at the parliamentary position because you are going to tell me that now it is the same people who announced you when you stood in 2021. Yeah, they did. But I'm not looking at the position of parliament. I'm looking at the position of a president. Because when you're a president, you determine almost all aspects of a country.
Of course, obuvunanyizibwa bw'okufulumya ebiva mu committee appointments tebuli ku individual member kubanga ogimanyi nti committee etaripotingibwako. Naye nze njagala kwogera nga independent person, omuntu wa bulijjo atula ku lukiiko olwo, especially now that tuva ku vetting electoral commission. Njagala gamba nti tulina omukisa mubi nti tukolera mu system gye tutakkiririzaamu ate nga tunogikoleramu. Tetugikiririzaamu bingi nnyo bye twagala bikyuke ate nga bateekwa okubireeta bikyuke tetubalinaako obuyinza. Kati electoral commission tetukkiriziganya na ngeri gy'erina kulondebwamu. Tetukkiriziganya kiringa nga bwe twesimbawo mu system gye tutakkiririzaamu ne twesimbawo. So tetukkiriza mu ngeri gy'erina kulondebwamu. Ne President Museveni akozesa discretion ye nga alina obuyinza obulonda government officers n'alonda bayagadde. Kyekyomukisa omubi nekireka bannayuganda bangi nga tetebali bamativu. Alonda party cadres, alonda to reward, alonda. Those are the people we receive. So for us in the opposition, just like we've been so dissatisfied about so many appointments that have been made on several government organs, neno tubeera nga tuli dissatisfied. But you are limited with options other people he has brought to you. So you vote among the ones he has given, and that's all. And he says he's got the right, the Constitution gives him mandate until when the Constitution is amended. Unfortunately, we shall have to work as such. Ekyomukisa omubi nti ebiseera ebisinga obungi tetubatira n'abo President Museveni baleeta ne tetuna kyakola. Obuvunaanyizibwa bwaffe ffe nga appointments committee tuyita mu chairperson tumugamba muwandiikire n'atugamba nti muwandiikirire luusi n'atulaga ne ku mabaluwa nti muwandiikidde akyuse mu kino. Naye ekyakakiiko engeri gye kalondebwamu nsonga nnene nnyo eteekwa okukyuka ng'ekyukira ddala okusinziira mu nkyukakyuka eziyinza okujja mu parliament. Tetukkaanya na ngeri kakiiko ka kalonda gye kalondebwamu. Tosobola kubeera nga gwe musambi wa mupiira nga golonda ba referee, tekisoboka. Naye yenkola gye tulimu gye tukyatambuliramu tusooka kulaba nti tuyita mitendera okugikyusa. We are done. Tumaze okuvetinga abakakiiko ako. Obuvunaanyizibwa bw'abayiseemu si bwange. Ebiseera ebisinga sipiika awandiika n'azzaayo eri president nti bano tubakkiriza, bano tubagaanye. obuvunanyizibwa bwone nga abo be batuwadde tumaze okubeera nga tubakubamu ttooki. Tuwaweereddwa omuwendo gw'abantu 7 era gwena gulabise. Yes, our committee has interfaced with 7 nominees from the president. Whether they've gone through successfully or not, that's not within my mandate. It's the speaker to declare that, writing back to the appointing authority. But I would like to say that it's regrettable that you're working in systems that we oppose and that we are opposed to. We think a lot of things have to change on these appointments, not only with the Electoral Commission, but several appointments. We think a lot of things must change. Regrettably, the existing leadership is still adamant to changing those things. Thank you.
Firstly, I'm not the spokesperson of the Appointments Committee, and neither, of course, do I chair it. The chairperson is its spokesperson. But as a leader, and importantly, as a Ugandan, there are things that should be of concern to us regarding our electoral processes. You see, an election is not an event. An election is a process, and the processes begin with getting the referees. The major challenge that we have is not even, in my view, it's not so much the Appointments Committee. Because, okay, yes, in the Appointments Committee, we, can vote and so on, and eventually the majority gets to have their day, and then the minority, we say, okay, just like it was in Tojikwatako, at least our voice has been heard, even though we have lost and that kind of thing. But for me, the bigger problem is not even so much the Appointments Committee. It is right from the source. A day must come when an electoral commission of a country, number one, is not appointed as it is now by a candidate, by a player, that you are going to participate in a game of football and you're the one selecting the referee. How do you expect that referee not to tilt the game to your side? For me, that's problem number one, that it is done that way, but also that the public is kept out. In some other countries, these things are done publicly, so the public gets to participate, because that election is not for us leaders, it is for the public out there, it's for the people that we represent. And so that public ought to get involved, even in the vetting process, okay, to determine who gets to be an arbiter, who gets to be a referee in this whole situation. So for me, that's the major challenge. The Appointments Committee is only a tail end of all of this. Because you see, ultimately, whatever it is that we receive from the other end is what gets to be processed, yeah? And even then, you can have some fairly, I'll call them fairly apolitical people. For example, there's an academician, somebody from civil society, and that kind of thing, as you have been seeing, the lists out there. And you think, okay, will these ones maybe try and do a good job? But along the way, because of the preponderance of the appointing authority, you're not too sure whether people will stay the course, whether people will not, in a way, swing and begin to play to the whims and fancies of the appointing authority. That's the major challenge. And so as a people, we must fight to reclaim that power. For as long as that power is captured, the fighting can only be limited. Okay, of course that doesn't mean we don't fight, that we shouldn't fight. You saw when the first list was outed, Ugandans began to make noise, there was a lot of conversation and so on, and that exerted a bit of pressure. That's why eventually the list changed along the way. So I'm not in any way trying to disregard that fighting chance that remains, even with these processes, but ultimately we must deal with the other situation. For as long as it is still that way, that the appointing authority, who is a participant in an election, who is a participant in this game of football, or whatever the case might be, is the one that chooses who the referee gets to be, it's a problem. Of course, legally, some things could be dealt with a particular way to say, whatever lists you see out there, they are not known about. But yeah, they were out there. Eventually, what gets to be produced as the final list, that's what is seen as the final list. That's the list, So there can be a voice to say, but whatever is out there on social media, we do not know it. Where did it come from, and that kind of thing. Yeah, but Ugandans should know that their fighting spirit, their advocacy on social media, and so on and so forth, it counts. It counts, you know. But again, like I'm saying, until we deal with the question of who gets to appoint this entire commission, that it should never be somebody who is a player, who is in the field. Because you see, that person who is in the field is too shameless that they'll even pick on people who have just come out of an election, you know, to say, for me, these are the ones that I think will be neutral arbiters. But how? So, because of that preponderance of power with the appointing authority of this commission being a participant in an election, choosing who the referee gets to be, that's the problem. And that's why they can pick on anybody, you know, in a manner so wanton. Even what people expect, no, this one cannot happen. You get shocked and you say, they have actually done it.